বাংলা আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি তোমা ফাগুনে তো রামের বনে প্রাণে পাগল করে মনে হায় হায় রে ওমা ফাগুনে তো আমের বনে প্রাণে পাগল করে ওমা ঘ্রাণে তোর ভরা থেকে কি দেখেছি আমি কি
Hi, everyone, and welcome to tonight. It's really great to have so many people with us, and we're expecting quite a turnout, actually. My name is Piali Gupta, and I'm actually the Director of Policy and Communications at the London Borough of Newham. Some of you might be able to tell from my name that I'm actually Bengali by origin myself, but I'm not Bangladeshi. Well, not immediately Bangladeshi anyway. My parents were from West Bengal and moved to Canada when before I was born, but our whole family actually originates from the Joshua district in Bangladesh, and I think we've all got sort of a partition story that we can tell, and our family's story is that the village that we came from, 2 days before partition, they found out that it was going to be given to the Pakistan side and not to the India side as they expected. So like a lot of Hindu families, 2 days to go, they picked up and left and moved to the other side of the border, and probably past a lot of Muslim families doing the exact same things. So I guess I just wanted to start with that personal connection to it, because we've got a very complex tapestry in the Indian subcontinent and across Bengal, actually, in Bangladesh, but a really rich heritage, a really rich shared history. And so it's a real personal delight for me to be here with you on such an auspicious occasion, the 50th anniversary of Bangladesh independence. And what's really interesting, I think, about Bangladesh is that it might be a young nation, but it's quite an ancient land and an ancient people. So before I get us going, I'll do a little bit of housekeeping with you, if you don't mind. Just trying to pull up my notes, I'm doing it properly. I wanted to note, because we are a council, that we're in the middle of an election campaign. So, we have some restrictions when it comes to this sort of time, particular time of the year. So we have to be really careful not to sort of promote any political candidates or get into any kind of political discussion, really, including some of our own policies as a council. So we would really appreciate it if you would help us sort of stay out of that kind of zone, that, if any comments that you make are about the business of the event and not about the election or candidates or political parties or anything like that. We'd really appreciate that, because if we move into that kind of riskier territory, we might have to pause the event. So just a few housekeeping notes as well. So attendees, you'll find that you're automatically muted, and your videos are turned off. That's just pretty automatic with Zoom seminars. The webinar is being recorded. What you'll find is that there's a Q&A function in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. You won't have a chat function, which some of you might be used to with Zoom normally, but when you want to put in questions, and there's a panel later and you'll have an opportunity to ask questions, put them into the Q&A function, please. And then what will happen is that your question will be read out and answered live by the webinar panelists at that point. We might not be able to get to all questions, but we'll do our very best to get through as many as we possibly can. We've also got a BSL interpreter, Irina, with us today, who will be signing alongside, and you'll have already probably spotted her on the screen with the speakers and performers. For any deaf audience members who've joined us, please pin her on the screen, and that will make sure that you can always have access to her. And some of you will already notice that we're not quite a slick operation yet, so you've been able to see some of our backstage dealings. So this is live, which is an advantage, but also a little bit of a disadvantage sometimes if we're not a slick operation. So please be patient with us and forgiving if we make any sort of glitches along the way. So I just wanted to take this moment to introduce some of our guest speakers before I actually bring in our first speaker altogether. We're really lucky to have such a great range of, phenomenal thinkers, performers, commentators. So I think it really kind of shows the diversity of the Bangladeshi community globally, but also here in Britain and here in Newham as well. So to just introduce the panelists, we've got Dr. Aminul Hoque, Dr. Farzana Hussain, Mumzy Stranger, Nadia Ali, Syed Ahmed, Ramzan Miah, Nasima B, Mizanur Rahman, and I think that's it, isn't it? I don't think we had another guest we were hoping to have join us, but I think that might be it. And forgive me if we have had that guest join us. I'll introduce them a bit later. So we're starting a bit late, but I really want us to get to Dr. Aminul Hoque. Sorry about that, Hoque. Probably doesn't need that much introduction, but a British Bangladeshi academic from Goldsmiths College, author of British Islamic Identity, third generation Bangladeshis from East London, presenter of a BBC documentary, but I actually really just want to get to his bit of it. But the thing I wanted to note in particular, given that we're doing this Newham event, is that he's a local boy. He's lived most of his life in Forest Gate, Beckton and Stratford. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Hoque, but first we're going to watch a bit of a preview of a video.
This is one of the memories. Lots of kids just screaming. I'm told for this. Lots of kids just screaming and just running around, and just parents coming out and asking everyone, it's time for dinner, can you go to the shops? Can you go to number 21, number 31, get this, pick this up for us? Kids playing, going home, having something to eat, coming out again. And the echo around here. But once we left the confinements, the safety of these two blocks, the world was a bit different.
I'm Aminul Hoque. I'm British, but I was born in Bangladesh.
Oh, referee, come on!
I'm passionate about football and my family. My dad, and thousands like him, came here from his homeland for jobs in factories. When their families joined them later in the 70s, many faced hardship, and they faced hostility on their doorstep.
You are not, because gangs of racist people come out and they want to beat up anybody they find.
Our enemy is the politicians who bring these people in the first place.
I'm going to find out how young Bangladeshis fought back against the far right.
Black and white, unite and fight!
Made their voices heard.
That was here, facing this way.
Yeah, we're looking this way, look.
And made their home here. Our culture, our curries, and our community are a unique part of British life. But Bangladesh is still in my blood.
You gonna climb up the tree? You go, have a go.
Now I want to know if my kids will keep the ties to where Dad and I came from. And whether the next generation can hold on to their Bangladeshi roots. While being born British.
This is my take on a very British history.
Good evening, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, and I should say Joy Bangla to all Bangladeshis out there and to everyone else, Bangladeshi and non-Bangladeshi. That short trailer of the documentary from last year takes me back, brings back many pre-COVID memories of a time when we were carefree and we were able to play football. But it also, I think, illustrates the really complex and diverse and beautiful history of the UK, British, Bangladeshi population. It's a pleasure to be part of this really important event organised by Newham Council, which marks this very important and special occasion, celebrating the 50th birthday of the birth of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. What I wanted to do over the course of the next 10 to 15 minutes is just to share some personal stories of what it means to be a Bangladeshi. And also I wanted to talk about, take the occasion to also talk about the documentary. The documentary was a very humbling honor. It was a very emotional journey, and it allowed me to tell the story of British Bangladeshis to a wider international and national audience. Underpinning what I want to talk to you guys today about, you good folk, is these questions on the screen now. I want to first and foremost celebrate what it means to be a Bangladeshi. Who are we? Who are Bangladeshis? And what do other non-Bangladeshis know about Bangladeshis? Often we're seen as part of a wider South Asian bloc. But of course, we have our own unique identity, we have our own language, we have our own rich history. And it's really important that we celebrate and recognize Bangladeshis as a unique group of people. Why are we such a special and unique bunch of people? That's a very biased and a very loaded opinion. But of course, it's part of my heritage. I'm very proud of who I am, and I'm very proud of my Bangladeshi roots. And I want to celebrate this with you guys, with my family, with my community, with my non-Bangladeshi friends. And also I want to talk about and celebrate how very British we are as a group of people as well. The Bangladeshi story, as you will see, is a uniquely very British story. Now, Newham Council have is a very forward-thinking, diverse, multicultural council, and it's right that Newham Council celebrates the history of a very large segment of its population. And also, we need to recognise the wider contributions that many Bangladeshis have made to the wider British society. As Piali said, I am a local boy. I grew up in Newham. My story, I'm going to use my lecturing mini board here. I don't know if you can see this. My story can be summarised through postcodes from Sylhet to E1 to E2 to E7 to E6 to E15 and now E17. I'm very much an East London boy. Hashtag Forest Gate School 1993. That's the year that I graduated. This gives you a sense of the fact that I speak also as a local boy and also somebody who's got lived experiences of many of the localized issues that we have faced and experienced as Bangladeshis. So I want to talk about these questions, these very important questions on the screen, and I want to share some memories of what it is to be Bangladeshi. Now, who are we? What's our story? How do I go to the next slide? Here we go. Some hashtags which are really interesting to think about when thinking about the Bangladeshi story. This is my story, but in many sense, this is our story. This is everyone's story. You don't need to be Bangladeshi to resonate or identify with these questions and hashtags on the screen right now. What is the motherland? Who am I? Where is home? Once I go to Bangladesh, I feel like a tourist. In Britain, often I feel like a migrant. I'm a Londoner, a very proud Londoner, very proud Muslim. I'm British, whatever that means. I'm Bangladeshi. Do we have multiple homes? Do we have multiple identities? Are these questions that we often think about? The story of Bangladeshis is a unique one. It's a very important one. On the screen now, you see a set of images that encompasses the much diverse, the much complex, often tragic history of Bangladesh and Bangladeshis. And in many ways, the early story of Bangladeshi migration and settlement in this country is often synonymous with struggle, with sacrifice, with hardships, with deprivation, with racism. We're talking about a very hardworking community, a very law-abiding community, a very jovial, happy, resilient, colourful group of people. That's who we are as Bangladeshis. Before I speak about before I celebrate, I guess, Bangladeshis and Bangladeshi contributions to wider British society, if I may, I wanted to just ponder for a couple of minutes on 1971, the awful events and the legacy of 1971, and why 1971 is so important emotionally, culturally, philosophically, and politically to many Bangladeshis across the globe. Well, of course, we know the tragic events of 1971, we know that many thousands of innocent civilians perished, and they lost their lives in the name of wider power and politics, regional geopolitics that were being played out at that time. We also know that many Bangladeshis fought to armed struggle in a fight for liberation, to preserve the cultural and linguistic history and heritage of Bangladesh. In an article that I published earlier today through my university, Goldsmith University, University of London, I quoted that 1970 quote, "dark stain in human history" from the actual article. I finish off with these words towards the end, where I say we should all remember the events of 1971, where we witnessed the absolute worst of humanity, but also saw the triumph and the resistance, the struggle and the democratic role of humans. We need to learn our lessons from this tragedy and ensure a future where violence, massacres and bloodshed are a thing of the past. This was an awful, tragic event. It's an event that still to this day, not many people know about or talk about. There's a sense of embarrassment, a shame, there's some amnesia involved. Lots of the people responsible for this awful event are still not talking about it. And interestingly and importantly, the younger generation of British-born Bangladeshis need to get an understand or have a sense of an understanding of their history, roots and heritage. And they need to stay connected to what Bangladesh as a political, cultural and physical space means. Right, so I don't want to this evening to be part of a somber mood of what happened in 1971, but I did want to take two odd minutes just to point out the relevance and the legacy of 1971. So now let's spend a few minutes celebrating who we are and what it means to be British and Bangladeshi. My research, my writing, my media work explores the British Bangladeshi story. Of course, as part of the Commonwealth migrants, we were invited into this country. My father's generation, who worked incredibly hard, made immense sacrifices. And now, 60, 70 years later, as of the last census, there's approximately 500,000 British Bangladeshis who call this country, this space, their home. We have a unique history and we've contributed so much, some which is obvious and other parts of our contribution is not so obvious and is not so widely spoken about. So let's think about the very British contribution, the very British history of Bangladeshis. We know, for example, many Sylheti seafarers fought side by side during World War I and World War II with the British and their allies, and many seafarers lost their lives and gave up their lives in the name of freedom and in the name of world peace. We also know that my father in particular and many other thousands like him, worked incredibly hard to help rebuild post-war Britain. They worked in the industrial factories in the north and in many of the factories in the south, and often in very squalid, deprived, dangerous conditions. And they worked in industries that the local domestic population did not want to work in. So people like my father, who are the heroes, the invisible heroes, deserve a huge round of applause and lots of recognition. Their stories have not been told as much or been recognized. Of course, the Bangladeshis are responsible for a very British invention, the curry, right? It's become a staple dish in many households across the United Kingdom, and we take credit for that. Not many people know that it's actually Bangladeshis who are the driving forces behind the Indian curry industry. And of course, the panelist today, for example, gives you an illustration of how diverse and how integrated and how British we have become. We have artists, we have teachers, we have medics, we have lots of different food, culture, fashion, music. We have become very diverse. We have become very ingrained in the wider British fabric and society. The role of many medics, for example, one of my heroes, is part of the panel here today speaking, the role of many medics in the recent COVID pandemic from South Asia in particular, and many Bangladeshi paramedics and doctors and GPs. Once again, my younger sister, who's Bangladeshi, and she's a nurse, an A&E nurse. You know, this is the role, this is the contribution we have been making to this country over the many years. If I can now spend a few minutes talking about the documentary of last year. The documentary focuses on the British Bangladeshi community. It's a universal story of migration. You can take Bangladeshis out and put many other migrant communities there, and it's going to tell a similar story. It's a story of upheaval, leaving the motherland. It's a story of settlement into a new land. It's a story of struggle. It's a story of discrimination. It's a story of hardship. Here for over nearly 70 odd years, and have contributed so much to the wider British society and public. And in the documentary, we also explore lots of hidden stories of racism in the 60s and 70s, the domesticated seamstresses who worked tirelessly for many hours across the week, one of whom was my own dear mother. The documentary also recognizes, and the narrative is quite clear, that Bangladeshis, despite being brown, despite having a different religion, despite speaking a different language, despite eating different foods, that we're actually just as normal as every other human being. It normalizes the narrative. We may be different from a racial and ethnic and linguistic sense, but we watch Netflix, support Man United, well, I do anyway. We drink Costa coffee, and we also watch, did I mention Netflix? Yeah, it probably illustrates how much Netflix means in my life. But the point of this point is Bangladeshis are just like everyone else. And in the wider context of Black Lives Matters, which is, and also the worryingly growing xenophobia and race and hatred we are seeing in many pockets across the globe, it's really important to normalize the narrative, to show others and everyone that humanity should prevail and racism and xenophobia should be something that's in the distant memory. That Bangladeshis, despite being different, despite being a different race and ethnic group, that we are normal and human and also very proud of who we are. So I'm very proud of who I am. I'm very proud of my roots. I'm very proud of my culture. I'm very proud of my heritage. I'm very proud of my motherland. And I wanted to also, this is my story, right? I wrote this down in my whiteboard earlier on. Born in Bangladesh, raised in Bethnal Green, schooled in Forest Gate, and now living in suburban Walthamstow. So this is very much a migrant story. This is very much a Bangladeshi story. So when you think about that narrative, who am I? Right? Who am I? Am I Bangladeshi? Am I British? Am I Muslim? Am I a Londoner? Am I all of that? Can I be all of that, or do I need to be something? Do I need to pick and choose, and be one of those? The documentary also, in just the final 2 minutes of me speaking, and then I'll pass it back to Piali. And the documentary also explores these questions around identity, around whether birthplace is important, what happens when you do go back to the motherland and you feel like a tourist or you're treated as a tourist. Can we have multiple homes? Right? Can we call both Britain, London, East London, and my village, Bagirgat, in northeast Bangladesh, Sylhet, can I call that place my home? Can you compartmentalize identity? Can you pick and choose who you are dependent on where you are? Can you say, this is who I am? Of course, I've just completed the census to 2021, and it was asking me precisely that question, to put myself in a box. And the final point I just want to leave you with, it was really important for the documentary and my writing to capture these important stories of our history and heritage, because so many of our ancestors have played such a huge and selfless role in the story of Britain, and also in the story of what it means to be Bangladeshi. And I wanted the documentary and my writing to capture this. And the final part, when I take my own children, my very British-born, gorgeous young daughters, back to the village of where their father was born, and I asked them and I showed them that physical space, this is where Abba was born, this is where Dad was born. Something resonated, something magical happened. That connection with a space that they've never been to or are very alien from you could see something emerging. And this is how perhaps identity operates. And this is why it is so important that the younger generation of Bangladeshis also have a sense of who they are and be very proud to be Bangladeshi. Thank you.
Wow, that was just brilliant. My brain is buzzing and I've got so much I want to kind of think about, but we actually have a couple of questions for you, Dr. Hogg, if you don't mind. It would be great to get your reflections. So one question is, given the contribution that the Bangladeshi community have made in UK history, what do you think we need to do to ensure our stories are more widely talked about? And the second question for you is, what is the thing that makes you most proud of being Bangladeshi? I appreciate there's more questions coming through, but we've got to keep ticking along, but it'd be great if you could take those first two.
Thank you, Piali. The first question around the story of Bangladesh, I think this fits in with the wider campaign that I'm involved in with the National Education Union and also my colleagues at university and doing research. I think it's really important that these stories are told within the schooling curriculum. Right? I'm not trying to make Bangladesh as a special case and say all students and pupils should know about Bangladeshi history and heritage. I think the same rule applies to all cultures. I think we need to learn as much as we can about other people, other cultures, other histories. This is what's going to make the world a much better, safer, and more diverse and respectful and accepting and forgiving space. When we learn too much about one culture and one history, it starts resentment, it causes division. We need to respect everyone's cultures and we need to respect everyone's histories. So the decolonizing the curriculum narrative is really important and we need to start at it with young people. The second question in regards to what am I most proud of? That's a fantastic question. I mean, all day I've been doing lots of social media posts and discussions, and it's making me emotional. It's making me emotional. I'm very proud of my Bangladeshi heritage and identity. But if I could maybe share what I like most about my culture, it is, I think, the overwhelming emphasis on community, family, and friendship and charity. This community does so much for each other and also for non-Bangladeshis. During the COVID pandemic, for example, I know many Bangladeshis who were running food banks, doing street detached work, dropping foods off to each other's families and homes, Bangladeshi and non-Bangladeshi. This is the spirit, this is the culture of selflessness, of hospitality, of community and family that I grew up with. These are the values that my parents have installed in me. I hope and I pray that I can pass down these values to my daughters and they can pass it down to their children. I think that's not unique to Bangladeshis. Many other people are like this. But to me, when I think of Bangladeshi communities, immediately the ideas of community, family and charity spring to mind.
That was just brilliant. And that takes us really beautifully, I think, onto our next person, another chance to celebrate Bangladeshi heritage and culture and everything. And I hope everybody out there is actually thinking about what it is that they are most proud of as well. So we don't have a chat function, but I hope you are thinking about what makes you most proud of being Bangladeshi or being connected to Bangladesh in some way. So now I'm going to move us on to Nasima B, who is a performance poet, a producer, and a creative practitioner. We're running a bit over time, so I actually want to turn you over right to her so that you can actually partake of her talents. So without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Piali. Thank you for that very brief introduction. Aside from being an artist, I also work at Ananda, the Manchester Bangladeshi Women's Organisation. And this poem was actually written and performed for our 30-year anniversary event last year. And I chose to perform this piece this evening because Ananda was a place that I really connected to my Bangladeshi identity. So this poem is called Daughters of Our Diaspora. In the beginning, there were more of us, women like me, daughters and daughters and daughters and daughters, salted lips and sugar on their hips, unafraid warriors, unsung heroes with beetle nut smiles and eyes conker brown, knives for teeth and tricks beneath their sleeves. Tribal women in paisley saris, mehndi tattooed, decorating tired palms, orange fading, like sleep, walking like sunshine, weaving like history, leaving. delirious and distant, silver weeping from wrists, their bangles playing the ode to Shunar Bangla, golden tongue with golden words and golden pots sincerely resting on their heads. There are thousands of them. There are thousands of us in paddy fields, walking towards shade in plantations, spilling skin like hot lemonade in Longsight at Ananna, familial, a sisterhood where democracy doesn't only lie in decision making, but in every Nobabusho and Pitta party, mouth aflame with ancestral threads. We only speak in darkness with our bodies, commit acts of self-preservation, looking straight at the lights of faraway stars. This history is never selfish. It is unspoken, like the flesh between unopen jackfruit, calloused shell protecting its unborn, a thick and sweet. We share it in the whispers of being woman. So when I'm asked where I'm from, or when I'm told where to go, I say, this is a belonging that is nobody's to take. Thank you.
Oh, wow. I wish we could applaud you. That was amazing. I'm going to keep those lines in my mind. This is a belonging that one's no one's to take. That's incredibly powerful. Thank you, Nasima. That was really amazing.
Thank you.
Wow. If we were actually all in person, I think I would encourage us to just take a moment of silence together to reflect on that. But we will actually move on to something that's a bit more interactive and hopefully gets you a little bit engaged in what we're doing tonight as well. So I'm going to ask my colleague actually to come in, Fareen, but to introduce a little bit of an interactive quiz we've got going about Bangladesh, and she'll explain how that works with a Jamboard and everything like that. So.
You're on mute.
Sorry. Good evening, everyone. My name is Faheen and I'm one of the Newham Council apprentices. So I'll be leading on the quiz kind of part of this event. So I've included a link into the chat section. If you please click on that link, it will redirect you onto a Jamboard site. If I just share my screen with you all. Oops. Great. So this is the site that we will be using. I'm not too sure why this is moving around, but if you could please use a sticky note, which is over here, to tell us a bit about where you're from, your name, where you're from, and if you're not from Bangladesh, you could let us know about the places that you're aware of Bangladesh. So if I provide you with an example, I'm using that sticky note. I'm going to say my name in a place that I'm aware of in Bangladesh is Sylhet. So if they save, let's not try and put this on the map directly, but let's put it around the map just so that we all can see it. This is not available if you're using your phone. So if you're using a laptop, this will be much more better. So yeah, you can get cracking on that. So I see some here. Dad's from Dhaka, yeah. Beanie from Bazaar, yeah. Mumtaz family from Sylhet. Syed Ahmed from Habibgonji. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Zainab dad from Saho, Sylhet. Yep. Mother from Sylhet town, from father from Bahibar. Yep. That's great. Family from Sylhet. So I see Sylhet is a kind of a pattern going on here. Great. There is another page, so if you are finding that there is too many or a lot of post-it notes on this one, you can always go to the next page and it will also be there as well. We're not going to spend too long on this because we have a quiz part going on. Great, parents from Sylhet. Families from Select, families from Select. Oh, I see what's going on. Oh, here we go. From Dhaka, yep. Wow, so many responses. It's amazing. That's from Dhaka, yep. Congo, yep. I'm aware of Congo too. Great. Just some final post-it notes before we move on, because I know we are a bit on time. Mom from Chittagong, yep. Chittagong, yep. Mom from Chittagong, yep. Some final post-it notes before we move on. Wow, you can see you guys really going in for the post-it notes and trying to get involved. Amazing. Okay, I'm going to move on. So any final ones can be put in now before we move on. Okay, so the next part of this is going to be on a quiz kind of section. So you're going to have to log on to mentimeter.com and it should redirect you to a page asking for a code. And I'll just read the code out for you. If I just put this on the screen for you all. Whoops, where am I? Here we go. Mentimeter, yep. And the code is 73740240.
So, Fahim, just to clarify, we're opening up our own browsers and going into menti.com, is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. Can't seem to copy and paste it, but it is on the screen for you. I will be reading out the questions, but we can just start now. So the first question is, what year did Bangladesh become independent? What year did Bangladesh become independent? So I'm really testing our knowledge about Bangladesh now. So we have 3 responses for 1971. Great. Any other responses? 4. Yep, great. Any other responses? 5. Great. Okay, I'm gonna move on. And the right answer was 1971. So if I move on to the next question, so name some cities in Bangladesh. So any cities that you might be aware of, this is where the Jamboard may become familiar because, yep, we have Dhaka. Any other places? I don't want to give the answers away. Yep, Camilla. Great. Yep, Habigong. Any other places? Oh, they're coming in now. Kunala, yep. Fatipur, Chittagong, yep. Wow, Saidapur, Sylhet, yep. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Any other responses? Any other? Chittagong, yep. Okay, they're all coming in, amazing. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next one now. So you guys know your city, that's amazing. So what are the neighboring borders of Bangladesh? Is it A, India and Myanmar? B, China and Iran? Oh, I can see some responses already coming in, it's amazing. Or is it C, India and China? Okay, 6 responses for India and Myanmar, amazing. India and China, okay. Okay, the answer will be revealed anyways. 15 responses for India and Myanmar, perfect. 18, good. Any other responses? Okay, so the answer was India and Myanmar. Perfect. Let's move on to the next one. So what is the capital city of Bangladesh? The capital city of Bangladesh. Dhaka, wow, amazing. 10, you guys know your cities. Okay, this is amazing. 15 responses. Sylhet is 1, okay, okay. Dhaka is still Dhaka, okay. 19 responses for Dhaka. Any other responses? 20, yep. Any other responses? So I'm gonna, the answer is Dhaka. So let's move on. Now, what is the dominant religion in Bangladesh? Is it Christianity, Islam, or Hinduism? 5 responses for it. Okay, 14 responses for Islam. Okay, Islam's the one day. Okay, 17 responses. Any others? 19 responses, amazing, well done. Hinduism, okay. Islam still there. Okay, so it's actually Islam. Next question, what are the flag colors of Bangladesh? So this is an easy question now. What are the flag colors of Bangladesh? Green and red, okay. 11 responses. So we don't think it's the other 2 answers, no? Okay, green and white, okay. 19 responses, 20 responses. 21 responses. Any other responses before I move on? Great. So it is green and red. Okay, let's move on. So a bit more trickier, but what is the estimated population of Bangladesh? I'm not going to go and embarrass myself reading out the numbers, but is it option A, option B, or option C? Okay, 2 people, option B. Okay. Oh, we have a very diverse amount of answers going on now. Wow. Okay. 10 responses for them. Okay, option B, option C. So I'm guessing set out option B and option C, according to the answers. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go and give the answer away to you guys now. I think you will be shocked about this. A is option A. I can see everyone probably thought it was option B, but no, it's option A. Okay. Now, what is the official language of Bangladesh? Is it Bangla, Hindi, or English? 7 people for Bangla, amazing, good. 12, great. 14, yep. English, yep, okay. Hindi, yep. Bangla. Any other responses before I move on? And it is Bangla. Okay, so this one is a bit confusing. So what is the national animal of Bangladesh? Is it a tiger, lion, or is it a cheetah? Tiger. Okay, everyone knows this. Tiger. Any other responses? 18 people said tiger, great. Cheetah, okay. 20 responses for tiger. It looks like I've done my spelling wrong again for cheetah, but the answer is tiger. Okay, so now when thinking of Bangladesh, what comes into your mind? So when I think about Bangladesh, I think of festivals, I think of food, I think of curries, anything. So when thinking of Bangladesh, what comes into your mind? Any response for this? I can't really. Oh, there we go. So we have water, yep, place of friendly people. I agree with that one. Greenery, nature, food, joy, food, saris, yep. Borough, I'm not pronouncing that right, I'm so sorry. Bangladeshi language, yep. Paddy fields, curry, rivers, and greenery. Seafood, let me just move this out of the way. Seafood, rice fields, food, yep. My country, yep. Cow, fish, family and friends. Saris, fish, yep, the food, tea, poverty, politics and tourists, color, family, flooding, clothes, tigers, yep, rivers, friendly people, yep, this is amazing. So that is me done. Well done everyone who got all the questions right. And it looks like you guys know your knowledge about Bangladesh, so well done.
That was brilliant. And actually, I'm going to confess up that I actually learned a little bit watching that quiz, but I'm not going to tell you which answers I didn't know in advance. But thank you, Farin. That was fantastic, really. Now we're going to move on to Mizanur Rahman, or Mizan the poet, who is an English spoken word poet, activist, and community worker. Take it away.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me. First of all, can everyone hear me properly?
We can.
Okay, all right, great, that's great. So I thought I'd write a quick few words about what makes me feel proud to be a British Bengali. And I've just started writing, I just finished writing this like today. So here you go. So this is like will explain why I feel proud to be a British Bengali, basically. So here goes. Man, what can I say? Thinking about being a British Bengali taps into a feeling that's raw and real. Emotionally, there aren't many equals, but the thing that makes me the most proud about being a British Bengali is my people, especially when it comes to the progress we've made, which puts more than just a smile on my face, knowing that when our parents came, it wasn't exactly safe. Multiculturalism, still overshadowed by the politics of race. But with nothing but faith, our parents refused to back down. refused to be silenced, for us to now pick from their fruits while we stand on the shoulders of these giants. So yeah, I'm proud of how far we've come, although it wasn't an easy start, as evidenced by the existence of Whitechapel's Altab Ali Park. And in regards to that, we've still got a long way to go, if you judge by what's in the newspapers. But I'm proud to say that we have had a lot of success. We've managed to reach dizzying heights bigger than any skyscraper, thanks to individuals like Mumzy Stranger, Nasima and Nadia Ali, complete iconoclasts and cultural trailblazers, even though it hasn't been easy, but as a community, we're in solidarity with them. And I want to say that due to the work that they've done, I feel at home in the UK. I don't feel distant because, and this is undeniable now, there is a piece of Bangladesh in England. My people make me proud to be a British Bengali. Thank you.
That's just brilliant, actually. That was really moving. Very, very moving. I like the thought of standing on the shoulders of giants as well. I think that's really what this evening is about. Now we're going to watch a video clip, Beyond Banglatown, from the Runnymede Trust.
I think in relation to the Bengali community, Brick Lane is still the heartland of the community. This is the place that they feel they have emotional attachment, Bangla Town.
That title, that name, Bangla Town, unfortunately, we are losing it. And I think, not losing it, we kind of lost it.
One of the reasons I find Brick Lane so fascinating is because I think it's a story of multicultural Britain and multicultural London. So I think it tells a story of the relationship of Britain with its empire.
East India Docks is where the clippers used to bring the teas. Leadenhall Hall, not far from here, used to be the tea auction. You've got the goods yard where things used to be stored. So there's lots of history.
With the establishment of the East India Company, we see the opening up of trade passages and migration with India, but specifically with the Bengal region and specifically in the Sylhet region. So for example, tea was shipped over from Sylheti tea plantations. Also, goods arriving in Britain through the docks would have been things like spices, indigo, cotton. So really, I suppose the arrival of tea and spices is the beginning of the story of Britain and curry. It's interesting because people always think of Brick Lane as a street that is defined by migration. So first you had the migration of the French Huguenots, and then you had Jewish people who arrived from Eastern Europe who were escaping pogroms, Irish people who came after the Irish potato famine, and then you have South Asians who arrive in this area, so seafarers. Lots of people from the Sylhet region worked on British merchant ships. Many of those people came to establish cafes, and really those cafes that were established by seafarers in this part of town were really the beginning of what became the restaurant trade, which really boomed in the post-war period and into the 70s and 80s.
This whole settlement of Bangladeshis in this area is absolutely entwined with the struggle for recognition, the struggle to belong, the struggle against racism. The real kind of violence that accompanied living in East London or living in this area in the kind of 1970s and 1980s was absolutely violent and visceral. The most obvious example of that, of course, is the murder of Altab Ali.
You know, the Altab Ali, the guy who has been killed 4th of May 1978, he used to work in Hanbury Street in a leather trade as a machinist. He was a 24, 25 years old man. And that time I was 18 years old. So I'm passing Hanbury Street, Brick Lane every day because I'm a Brick Lane boy. I seen Altab Ali in 7:35, 7:37 in the evening, and he's been stopped 7:47, 45, 47 minutes. And then people say, no, enough is enough. Then we say, black and white, united fight. And that was our slogan. It was a demonstration by Altab Ali's coffee unit, about 20,000 people in that time. That was the biggest demonstration in Asian history.
The East End is a fascinating place for looking at both the good and bad of British politics and its kind of welcome and disdain for refugees and migrants.
Brick Lane was, it had clothing and leather factories, and the factories were mainly owned by the Jewish community, but the workers were of Bengali origin, so all the cutters, the machinists were Bengalis. With time, the trade was affected because of cheap imports from India, China, and obviously Bangladesh. So I would say by late 80s, 90s, the Bengalis acquired those outlets on the ground floor and converted them into Indian restaurants. And at one point there were up to 50 Indian restaurants on Brick Lane alone. So I think many people probably are referring to that period as the heyday of Brick Lane.
So Banglatown refers to a commercial enterprise that really took place in the 1980s through the 1990s, which was a big investment by the council in the Bangladeshi community to try and set up a kind of commercial touristy area.
I mean, I remember in the 90s the council would help the local businesses doing up the front facades. They would train the staff within the restaurant sector. They had created a specific website for the restaurant sector in order to encourage tourists and visitors to come to this area.
So I think the idea of Banglatown came out of the idea of Chinatown. I think it's perhaps less like Chinatown in the sense that it tends to be very, very much just focused on food, which I think was not what the local Bangladeshi community wanted. They wanted it to have a much broader remit, so kind of, music, culture, clothes, commercial services, not just restaurants, but it's mainly ended up as kind of being famous for restaurants.
Wow, I have to say that's left me longing to cross the river and go for a curry. Feels like it's been an awful long time since we've been able to do that, but that was really great. So now we have quite a treat for you actually with Nadia Ali, who's going to be convening a bit of a panel for us. She probably doesn't need actually that much introduction, but I will just say a few words. So I think you'll all know her for her very sparkling personality and the way she just exudes fun and laughter, certainly on her Sunday show on BBC Asian Network. So I'm just going to turn it right over to Nadia.
Thank you so much. Before I begin, I'd like to say a few words in Bangla. I just want to say যে স্বাধীনতার শুভেচ্ছা সবাইকে জানাচ্ছি যারা আজকে আসছেন এবং আমার সোনার বাংলা আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি. Just a few words that are very strong, and I think it's the identity of how we feel about Bangladesh and how important the country is to us. So today, thank you so much, Newham, for actually putting this event together, because it really is important for us to not just celebrate, but also to remember those that sacrificed their lives in 1971 to give us our own identity, our own country, which we know now as Bangladesh. And since then, we've had our grandparents, our parents come to this country and work so hard to build us a future and to build us our identity, and for us to be true to our roots and, love our tradition and culture and our heritage and be true to it. And I think today, that's what we are doing. That's what we're discussing. And it's just been so wonderful to see all the guests that have come on and that have just really shown and proven their love for their culture, their tradition, their heritage, for Bangladesh, basically. And right now, it's time for the Q&A. And again, we have 4 very talented people that I will be introducing. And I also want to tell you that you can be a part of this segment where you can actually give us your questions and we will read them out and ask them to our panel guests that are here today. So I'm going to start off with introducing Dr. Farzana Hussain. Farzana Hussain lives and works in Newham, East London. She has been a GP principal at the Project Surgery for 20 years and looks after a list of 5,000 patients, I think. She is a primary care network clinical director for Newham Central 1. Nationally, she is the co-chair of the NHS Confederation PCN Network, and she was also awarded GP of the Year 2020. And I just want to take this moment to thank you for being our NHS hero. And the next person is Mumzy Stranger, who doesn't really need much of an introduction, but for those that don't know, he is a British rapper, singer, songwriter, and record producer, known for his distinctive R&B soulful music. He has won many awards: Best Urban Act at the Amas, Best Urban Act at the Bahamas, Best Producer, and he was the first Asian to win a UMA. And we also have Syed Ahmed, and again, a very well-known face. And Syed is actually very proud of his roots as having been born to hardworking Bangladeshi parents and brought up in East London. He was a contestant on the BBC hit show, The Apprentice, in 2007. I'm sure you all remember. He has contributed to Sky News, Sky Report, Bloomberg TV, and featured in high-profile publications like The Sunday Times and Metro. That's just a few that I can remember from the top of my head. And last but not least, we have Ramzan Miah. Ramzan Miah is a British Bangladeshi actor, dancer, and model. He has been a significant role model to the South Asian community. He is known for appearing in Ghost Stories in 2018, Rocketman in 2019, and Everybody's Talking About Jamie in 2020. So there you are. That's everybody that we have on the panel, our guests. So thank you so much for joining me and joining us today. And again, I think when we talk about our British Bangladeshi roots, heritage, and just how proud we are of, you know, how far we've come in 50 years, you all actually wave that flag for us here in Britain. So thank you very much. So I'm going to start off with Mumzy Stranger first. I mean, you know, we know you for your musical background. You have achieved so much, and you are actually one of the, not one of the first, you are the first Bangladeshi that actually broke all the barriers and went into mainstream music when, you know, we had Punjabi, Urdu, you know, R&B musicians just taking over. But you came in and you were like, nope, hey, there's a Bangladeshi here and I'm going to rock everything. And you did. So on that note, I want to know from you, how does your heritage, culture, traditions influence and shape your identity and your work today in your music?
First of all, I'll say hi, everyone. Happy Independence to everyone. Congratulations. And thank you, Nadia. What an amazing intro. To be honest, it's a really mixed feeling for me because I was born, obviously, in the UK. However, I was very much Bengali growing up, Bangladeshi, as much as I was British. And it's only when I visited Bangladesh where I felt really connected, because it's really difficult to be here and be connected to Bangladesh. Obviously, our parents have really paved the way, and our grandfathers, their parents, it's just, they've kind of built us this fortune, I call it, this treasure chest, this platform, this, everything we have today is because of their hard work, their sacrifices. And at the end of the day, for me, that matters, you know, and it's almost like it's our duty and it's within our interest and our best interests to make sure we don't forget our country, our roots and where we come from. So for me, that's a very proud thing. And one advice I would say is to definitely reconnect and visit Bangladesh. And I'm really proud, and I'm, you know, it means everything to me at the end of the day. And I say it out loud. Doesn't matter whether I'm making music, doesn't matter who I'm around, I'm Bangladeshi, you know, welcome to my world. I'm very open about it.
And we love that. We love that. And we can hear that in your music quite recently, actually, where you are singing in Bangla now, and you've always been waving that flag. So you definitely make us very, very proud. Thank you very much, Mumzy. I'm going to go straight to Dr. Farzana, but before I go to Dr. Farzana, I just want to remind those that are on here today that you can also send in your questions. If you look below, just underneath, you have a tab that says Q&A. Please send us your questions because I would love to read them out, as many as I can get through. And actually, I've got quite a few here already. So I might actually just go straight to the questions and ask Dr. Farzana first. I mean, firstly, Dr. Farzana, congratulations, you know, winning an award in 2020. And of course, I think this is the time where we really get to thank you for being our NHS hero, for being in the front line and putting yourself there and to really help us. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Nadia, and thank you for having me, and great to be sharing Independence Day 50th anniversary with you all, and great to see so many participants on a Friday evening. So lovely to be here. I live and work in Newham. I'm speaking to you from Stratford at the moment, my flat. So yeah, it's a great time, and I think it's been wonderful for me. I've been blessed, as you say, this last year with being one of the faces of the 12 NHS heroes for the NHS's 72nd birthday. And I think it was particularly nice to be a British Bangladeshi and a British Bangladeshi woman to be representing the NHS, really. And I was very fortunate that that picture went to Bangladesh and many countries, and all the great wishes that I've had with that. It's been really amazing.
I mean, it was everywhere. I was going into work in a cab, you know, to do my show, and I'd see your face plastered, and I was like, yes, she's a Bangladeshi. You know, it made me really, really proud. Now, that takes me on to a really good question that was sent in by Sneh Hashem. Sorry if I said that wrong, but they are asking, what is the thing that makes you most proud of being a Bangladeshi? And that's to Dr. Farzana.
I think the thing that makes me most proud is actually working in an area like Newham. We're very multicultural in Newham, but actually being able to make a difference to a lot of our Bangladeshi men and women. But we do know that the health of Asian women, South Asian women and Bangladeshi women still falls below the health, if we look on a national basis, of our Caucasian counterparts. And in fact, over the last 10 years, life expectancy of women, about how long we live, has actually gone down. That's quite shocking when we think about that in certain areas such as Newham. That's gone down. So it's an absolute privilege to be able to work with these people, and being able to speak Bengali as well really helps, because I don't think that we're really getting the same care, and just really nice examples of, you know, people saying I would never have been able to share this problem if it wasn't for you. So that's really lovely. It really makes me proud.
Well, thank you so much. And I know we're going to get a few more questions, so I will come back to you. I'm going to move on to Syed Ahmed now, a very famous face in every Bangladeshi household. In 2007, we saw you in Apprentice. We were like, yes, there's our Bengali brother, you know, we were really proud of you. And since then, you've just accelerated and you've done so much work. You're a really big businessman, you know, entrepreneur. So on that note, I want to know from you, Syed, you being so successful, being a media personality, how do you promote your Bangladeshi heritage through your work?
Thanks, Nadia. Firstly, just wanted to say good evening to everybody. Assalamu alaikum as well. And Nadia, I was just listening to you, just, you know, it was just compliment after compliment of how successful I am and how this I am. Listen, I don't feel that successful with so many, you know, successful participants here today, and I'm extremely proud to be part of this group today. So firstly, I wanted to just answer your question by saying that I think Dr. Aminul really touched on the reasons why I'm so proud of being a Bangladeshi, and that's down to the fact that we have so much community, charity, hospitality, and family within us. And I think those values is the values that you need in life and in business. And that's the best advice that I can give, that, you know, we naturally, innately have these qualities and values ingrained in us from birth. And I think these values are the reasons why we're achieving so much. And it's, you know, it's so proud to be part of a group that started, you know, with small, humble beginnings. You know, I remember my parents. You know, I was born in Bangladesh, in Sylhet. You know, I was 9 months old when we came over. We settled in Petticoat Lane, just behind Brick Lane. And I remember my dad going to work, and right across our home was the National Party headquarters. And it was just absolutely mind-blowing, the courage of my father, because obviously he was raising a family. So to grow up with that kind of an inspiration, to see the fact that he was, you know, being spat on some days, it just really depended on the day. But never did I mean, it would have, you know, I would have been afraid, but I never saw that fear in him, because he was creating this future for me and for my family. So that was inspirational. So as soon as I could, you know, that's where my ambition started to tick, and fast track 30 odd years. I've got 5 sisters, 4 teachers in the family, 3 entrepreneurs, businesses in tech, software, media, education, alhamdulillah. So it's really great to see. And my personal commitment to all of this was to make sure that we can keep growing.
Yeah.
And obviously my participation in The Apprentice. I think I was the only candidate that I think I must have said about 15 times I was Bangladeshi. So the amount of, so for me, it was really a proud moment to be on such a show, not just specifically because of the show, because I was demonstrating that you can just dream, and if you've got a dream and you've got an ambition,
you can do it.
You've got to see it through.
And you actually did that quite rightly in The Apprentice, and we saw that. And after you, of course, we saw lots of other British Bangladeshis in mainstream media. We do have lots of questions to go through. Thank you so much, Syed. I'm going to go straight to Ramzan Miah now. Ramzan, you're young, youthful, aspiring actor, dancer, and you are now waving the Bangladeshi flag. How do you feel about being a British Bangladeshi in mainstream media? What has been the challenges that you've faced?
First of all, I just want to say assalamu alaikum to everyone, and it's amazing to see everyone's conversation about being proud of Bangladeshi as well, and happy Independence Day as well. So yeah, for me, it was definitely a challenge in itself, because I felt like during my time when I was experiencing these new things, going to castings or going to jobs, there would be less South Asians, but there'll be Indian, but there wouldn't be Bangladeshi. And then that was kind of a thinking process in my mind when I was going to these castings and jobs and thinking, I don't understand like what's going on. And I felt like I had a responsibility to showcase that, to open up the conversation and to share that with my audience as well. So that's where it's all started off. And I did it just for like myself and for my own personal reason. And then within that kind of just grew as well. But I always would encourage whenever I go, when they'd be like, oh, you're Indian, I'll be like, no, I'm Bangladeshi. And those are the moments where the directors would be like, oh, wow, like we haven't had like a Bangladeshi person in the campaign. Or
why do you think that is, Ramzan? Why do you think that is?
I think it's one of those things, you have to probably
I think it's more representation. We need more people to come forward.
Yeah.
Like Syed quite rightly said, if you have a dream, go for it. Don't hold back. There's going to be failures, and don't worry about it. But it's important to have that representation. Do you think that's what it is?
Absolutely, it's always about representation. I think as the year grew, I can see more people in the industry and they're all coming up, and they're younger generations as well, which is amazing and refreshing to see. But again, I would say it's important just to have the open discussion, and more people see about it, then more people will realize. So that's where I would say it's good to have.
Thank you so much. I have so many questions, but I have just over 10 minutes to go through them. I'm going to go straight to Mumzy. You have a question, and your question is, what is the biggest hurdle and biggest tip for a rising Bangla artist? I want to start doing it just like Nish. Shall we share our Nish story a little bit, Mumzy? And this is from Snehashan.
I'll be really quick about it. So you know what it is? I feel that when you're in entertainment, or when you want to do something brave, other than just studying and doing the normal stuff that your parents expect you to be, you are the alien in the family. So I was the alien in the family. I wasn't a bad person. I didn't do anything to upset anyone, but I just wanted to do me. And at the end of the day, when you're born in this country, you're born with half of what's in front of you, and then half of what your parents have given to you. What you've inherited from culture, from religion. So for me, I had to figure that one out myself, because I didn't have anyone to look up to. I couldn't call my uncle and say, "Oh, can I borrow your studio and borrow your mic or your keyboard?" or call up someone else for something else. It wasn't like that, you know. I had to turn to those who were in front of me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't rebellious. I just took that risk, and it's a choice. It's all to do with the choices you make in your life, and they were very scary choices for me, because a lot of people had things to say, and you know, these people, I proved them wrong, so they're probably watching this now. But my thing is, I went for it, and I studied, I went uni, and I did everything that needed to be done. But my passion was my passion, and for me, you know, it's all about having that, you know, like there's insecurities that we have as Bangladeshis, huge insecurities, and that is that barrier.
And what
and it's not
those insecurities are?
Sorry?
What insecurities are you talking about?
The insecurities are just being Bangladeshi, isn't it? You know, going back to the history of, you know, the curry houses and, you know, the pigeonholing, you know, and it's not a bad thing, man. That's where it comes from. If you see the world, you know, Jamaicans come from Caribbean food. Bengalis come from Bangladeshi food. Everyone has their, Chinese people have Chinese food. You know, like food is such a huge thing, a factor for us, people like us, right? And it's something to be proud of. But now, what I'm saying now is you have to be original, and you need to come out of that now. You know, there's so many people coming through, not just the music industry, but you know, doctors in the you know, pharmaceutical industry, fashion, business. So much is on the uprise, and for me, I'm so proud of that. And my advice is, don't be afraid. No one's telling you to come out and become a rebel, you know, and go crazy. There's ways to do things, you know, do things the right way, but be original. Don't imitate. Get inspiration, get advice, and just be professional about it. You know, just be professional and believe in yourself, and don't be afraid to pick up the phone and ask someone for help. You know, just seek advice, seek help. And you know what? Come on, man. Why are we here today? We're all here, coming from so many different places.
So this is your chance. If you want to ask any questions about your music, definitely send a message to Mumzy. He's just opened that up, so you know, you can ask him for some advice on that. Dilly Begum sends a really good question, and I'm going to ask Dr. Farzana to take this, please. How do you? So this is addressed to everyone, but I'm going to ask you. How do you deal with racism in your industry?
So I think a really good question. Racism is a problem for not just us Bangladeshis, but you know, lots of communities. And the way to tackle racism is to not provide the hate back, but to provide the healing back. So it happened to me just this week. I was doing a COVID confidence vaccination webinar, because we know that a lot of our Bangladeshi and lots of BME communities are a bit more worried about taking the vaccine. And it was a UK Muslim women's charity, and right in the middle of it, somebody Zoom bombed us, showed a picture of a machine gun and called us all Muslim niggers. And all I did was tweet it and say, heal, not hate. So it's about not being afraid. Mumzy put it beautifully. It's about being original and not being afraid of who we are. I am very proud to be a Muslim British Bangladeshi woman, and I am not going to lower myself to racism. I know exactly who I am and what I want to do. We are one humanity, and we heal it by not giving into it and not giving it the recognition, because it doesn't deserve it.
Thank you, Doctor. What's like strong words and such a great speech. Thank you so much. That hit me right here. So yeah, thank you very much, and I'm sure everyone will agree with me. Councillor Mumtaz Khan asks, does the media play a role when discussions take place about Bangladesh, and how do we encourage our young people to visit Bangladesh? I'm going to take a little bit of that, and then I'm going to ask Ramzan to answer this, because being a young British Bangladeshi, how important is it to go to Bangladesh? I think now, I mean, we've had Dr. Aminul Hoque actually, you know, do a documentary, take his children back to Bangladesh, to his roots, and really encourage them to learn about their motherland and to learn about Bangladesh. And what a beautiful way to do that. I think yes, media does, and I think we are doing as much as we can. And as you can see today, I've been on lots of TV shows and radio shows talking about this. And actually, I remember when I was in secondary school, Connie Hock was one of the first mainstream media personalities, and I remember she actually went back to Bangladesh while she was on Blue Peter to teach us about Bangladesh and find out about her tradition, her heritage, her motherland. And then you see quite recently Nadia Hussain, who also went to Bangladesh and did a little documentary on Bangladeshi food, heritage, traditions, and it was really nice. And I think these kind of things definitely play a huge part in influencing our younger generation. So I'm going to come to Ramzan Miah. Now for you as a young British Bangladeshi, how often do you go to Bangladesh, and do you think it's important for the media to do more documentaries like this, or how can we spread the beauty of Bangladesh and our country?
Yeah, so absolutely. I've been to Bangladesh like 2 years ago, and I would have gone this year, but because of COVID, it hit us. So I always keep it up on a regular basis, whether that's a year or 2 years after, just because it's very educational. Bangladesh is my hometown, is also where my parents were raised and brought up as well. And a lot you can learn from there, even with like my industry or where I am, for example, like the clothes that we wear, the fashion garment in itself is all made in Bangladesh. And that's something that we should all be proud of, as well as, recognizing that as well. There's brands that are importing our own clothes from our own country. So it's good to be educated, and it's good to be aware of that. And through the power of the media, it's important for the younger generation to not let that go, to always remember where our roots are. And that's originally in Bangladesh, where it all started, where it all happened. And without our own country, we wouldn't be where we are at the moment, at this stage. Like our grandparents have, like personally for my granddad has raised my dad to come to this country to be a worker. And if it wasn't for my granddad, then I wouldn't be in UK representing, if that makes sense. So to me, it's always important to remember your roots. And whenever you go, there's always something you can learn from as well. There's a school that's out there right now. There's so many schools that are people who are really need our support. And that's where we come in and help and support that in that sense. And there's less in the media that is showing that what Bangladesh is actually like. And it's our job as the younger generation to document that in itself. Through the power of social media, we can document everything, whether the media's, the BBC or anything like that are not showing that. It's our job to show that and share that and show the love. So yeah.
I'm just going to plug your social media now, because I saw a documentary that you just posted today about your heritage and about, finding, for people to find out personally a bit about your background and about your love for Bangladesh. So do go check that out. Syed, I come to you because I have a question. I'm really worried about time because I think I have about 5 minutes. Shaman Khan is asking, what is your best business advice for young people? Now, you being a successful businessman and breaking the barriers, what would you like to say to these young people that want to start off a business?
I think it's a blend of what, Ramzan, Mumzy, Dr. Farzana, everybody's really touched on. I mean, certainly for me, I'd say, you've got to believe in yourself, first and foremost. And secondly, you've got to really think big. And then you've got to have a plan. And then you've got to be persistent until you achieve that plan. And it literally is as simple as that. And I think that if you look at the growth that we've had over the last 50 years, it's been immense. So I'm excited to see what the next 50 years hold. And I think we'll see transformation, because absolutely, I think all the participants today and everything that we're achieving in all sectors as Bangladeshis, I think there's some exciting times to come. Yeah. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be around for the next 50th celebration, but if I am, then great.
Well, I hope to be. I want to be. I want to be one of the old people that will be telling the stories and sharing this Zoom, this Zoom meeting with them and say, yes, I did this 50 years ago.
But listen, I think it's innate in us to achieve. The example of my father, and now where we are as a family, and I think, yeah, just make a plan and just don't give up until you achieve it. That's it. Keep it really simple.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Now, I am going to wrap it up because I know I've come to the end of my time on this Q&A, but there's so many questions that I would love to ask you. But before you go, really quickly, within like 10 seconds, I want Dr. Farzana, Mumzy, Syed, and then Ramzan to just tell us what makes you proud to be Bangladeshi. I'll go first. I feel proud to be Bangladeshi because of my language. It started in 1952. We have the Bangla language, which I feel so strongly about, and our culture and our tradition and our heritage, which is so, so strong. And it makes me so proud to be Bangladeshi because of that reason. Dr. Farzana.
Thank you. I think the love and the family ties, which is often expressed by food, as many have said, but your aunties, your uncles, the love that Bangladeshi people have for their family and friends. And with Ramadan coming up, we might see more of it. It's absolutely out of this world.
Thank you, Mumzy.
I'm proud to be Bangladeshi because I don't need to chase anyone else's mainstream. I am mainstream in my own way.
Well said. Thank you. Syed Ahmed.
I'm proud to be Bangladeshi because we're courageous, because of our community values, because of the charity that we do, the hospitality that we offer, and our family values. I really think that's a powerful mix.
Absolutely. Thank you. And last but not least, Ramzan Miah.
I'm proud to be Bengali because of the community support that I have, the love of food as well, and the culture.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to all of you for joining today. And please carry on writing on the Q&A why you're proud to be Bangladeshi so we can have a look. And I want to also take a moment to thank the BSL interpreter that's been there and facilitating. So thank you very much. Over to you, Piali.
Thank you so much, Nadia. And can we just say thank you to Nadia as well for just masterful sharing. You can just see why she does this for a living and why she does this so spectacularly, frankly. So thank you. That was just a fantastic panel. And I think it really shows the breadth of what the Bangladeshi community offers, not just this country, but actually the world more broadly as well. So thanks so much. Now I'm going to take us to one of our absolute highlights of the evening and invite Mumzy to perform for us.
Hey, it's always going to happen. I just want to say thank you to Nadia because I felt that she gave everyone an introduction. So before I carry on, Nadia, you are one of the biggest voices for us on the BBC. You're smashing it. So thank you again. So let's get some vibes. Oh man, you get some vibes, man, yeah? This one's for you all. Celebration, let's go.
Open the door, come share your love with me, 'cause I need your body to follow me down. And I know I'll be the member, you'll come me road tonight. You just gotta say the word, so baby come my way. Come my lady, come my way. Your body be winding so hard, just give it up. I can see me dancing with you all night long. Like top the rhythm, girl, bring it on. Show how much I can bring it on. Show that to my cake, all it goes on. Feeling that to my cake, gotta move on. Trouble, but to me, I'm on. Habibi, Habibi, girl, I love the way you call me. Habibi, Habibi, yeah, you know there's nobody like me. Sano teri lora, yes, I didn't know more than you hold it. Like a sun of Sony, starting at the Sony, starting at the Chona. Yeah, you better let it up, gonna do you better. I'll get to the morning, get me love drum. I know you wanna be my girl, no one do you better. Love the way you move it, you know what I want. There's no competition, that girl, you like no one else. So hurry up and sit back and move on, na. I know you wanna kiss someone, let's be my lover. So come my way. Habibi, Habibi, girl, I love the way you call me. Habibi, Habibi, yeah, you know there's nobody like me. Sanu teri lorat, meri lorat, ke sabinana hora ni hora. Lag sanu sauri, sariya tu sauri, saade dil diya
Thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed that.
That was absolutely brilliant. And God, doesn't that make you want to like get a bit moving and grooving and things like that? It feels like it should be a Friday night out on the town. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Mumzy.
You're welcome. You're most welcome.
Thank you all for sticking with us. And it's pretty amazing. Friday night, we've all had really busy weeks and so many of you have stuck with us. So tonight really felt like a celebration, don't you think? And quite rightly, actually. You know, Bangladesh was born out of bloodshed and sacrifice, but actually out of principle and idealism and heart. And I think that really came through tonight. And it's been such a privilege to share this evening with you. And I guess if I could just again, you know, reflect on my own connection, that I've been thinking about my grandparents, all of whom were born in you know, the territory that is now Bangladesh, and they would be so proud to kind of observe my connection to this evening. So I'm grateful to you, but I'm also grateful to you, not just for the celebration and all the great things that you've showcased, but I'm also really grateful that you've brought up some of the things that are a bit tougher. So racism and inequality and, you know, the murder of Al-Tabali. And I think that's how we progress, and that's how we continue to kind of grow as communities, and how integration and all of that becomes real, because we're not scared to kind of confront the things that are difficult. So well done, all of you, for actually not just making this a celebration, but making this something that's rooted in reality as well. So I'm just going to finish up there by thanking all of our performers and panelists for doing an incredible job tonight and really, truly making this a celebration. And also thank the events team at London Borough of Newham, because I think hopefully it's shown to you what a labor of love tonight was. So thank you to my colleagues who've done just a stellar job of organizing this and keeping us through the night. So just going to conclude by saying Joy Bangla, and thank you so much. Happy Independence Day, Bangladesh. Thanks so much. Bye.